Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our fourth podcast in the podcast series of Light to Unite, which is a program we've developed. It's a movement for the unification of American Jewry to bring together all the observant Jews with the non-observant Jews for the purpose of really the survival of American Yiddishkeit and Yiddishkeit around the world. As we've seen over the last year, even before that, the amount of anti-Semitism that's been going on in the United States has been over the top. A lot of this has been created by the war that we're having right now in Israel with Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, and all their different proxies. Our objective is to have 5 podcasts, and on Sunday, September 29th at 8 o'clock will be the time to have all the Jews light for the people that have passed away, both the soldiers, the innocent people, the civilians during this war, but also for the people that have been killed outside of Israel because they've been Jewish. So the objective is for us to unite around lighting the candles. And why do we light? We light as Jews. We light for many different things. We light for Hanukkah. We light for beginning of Shabbos. We light for the end of Shabbos, for Havdalah. We light yard site candles. Lighting is a big part of our lives. My wife and I, we light candles every morning for different tzaddikim and family members. So our podcasts are bringing on prominent rabbis, prominent businessmen. And today we have the opportunity to welcome Rabbi Menachem Schmidt, who I met before I had gotten married about 12 years ago. We were guests of his in Philadelphia through my wife's daughter, Debbie Simsowitz. And we went to him for Shabbos. It was beautiful. And I've been contacting him ever since and how we can collaborate and do things to strengthen Klal Yisrael. Joshua Landis, I also met around that same time. I met right before. I was introduced to him because we shared things in common. We were both born in Philadelphia. We lived actually 10 minutes from each other. He was a big fan of real estate and real estate deals, so he had actually heard about me. And I'd always wanted to go to Israel. I traveled all around the world, but I'd never been to Israel. I got as close to Egypt, down the Nile, but didn't go into Egypt because at that point, I grew up as an American Jew in Philadelphia with no Yiddishkeit. I started becoming an observant when I was 50. At that time, and over the last 15 years, the big change for me is going from being an American Jew to being a proud Jewish American. And this is really about being proud Jewish Americans, and Josh is definitely that type of person. So we're going to start with Rabbi Schmidt first in just a few introductory remarks. Josh will do the same, and then we're going to have a 3-way conversation between the three of us. Rabbi Schmidt, please.
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of start off with an image. And the image is that, I'm a Lubavitcher, so I'll quote a little Tanya if you don't mind. So then Tanya, in the end of the very, very end of Tanya, there's an image, which is a very common image in the Torah, that talks about that the relationship between God and the world, in a certain sense, goes to the Jewish people. And the way that God's energy comes into the world comes through Jewish unity. And the imagery that's used is that in a body, in order for the heart to pump the blood into the body and for the body to be healthy, all the limbs of the body have to complement each other and work in concert with each other. And that image and that metaphor, that mashal, it represents Jewish unity, and that tells us the power of Jewish unity in terms of bringing God's energy and bringing holiness and goodness into the world. That's the importance, no less than kind of connecting God to the world, comes through our connecting with each other.
Beautiful. Thank you. Josh, an opening statement or comment as a proud fellow Jew?
To be a Jew, hoda'ah, Yehudi, to give thanks. And it is so appropriate, Tuvia, for me to give thanks to you, to give thanks to Menachem Schmidt. You are both role models to me in Yahadut. And Menachem, I've been privileged to know for decades. He and my parents had a rapport. I met him through a beautiful stucca that I'm still involved with, that he so ably leads, a Jewish Heritage Program, bringing privileged Jewish kids awareness of the gift that is their Yahadut. And Tuvia, you inspired me when we had lunch together some 12 years ago. And you were one of the most well-traveled people I had ever met, who had never, dafka, been to Israel. And that as we were speaking, I literally was going the next week. You were able to piggyback on many of the adventures that we had, and that was really an exceptional trip. Israel Aircraft Industries, being flown to a military base, being at the border with, unfortunately, where much of the tragedy of the last February 7th, October 7th took place. You and I were there at Kerem Shalom, as I recall, etc. But to see how you are choosing to spend your life, and that impactful experience, and how you are paying it forward, it gives me great hana'ah, as I'm sure gives Rabbi Schmidt great hana'ah to see. And I'm not here to stroke you, I'm here to encourage you. I do not define my love of Yahadut through Jew hatred. Nothing I'm proud of, but I'm a wimp. I wouldn't have the guts that some of these leaders on campuses and on battlefields and in the media do. I couldn't stand in the middle of Ramallah and say that I am a proud Jew, but in the comfort of an ordered society, which is the United States in which I grew up, I can, and thank God do that. And I just say that the craziness, the Jew hatred is part of the system. Hashem has a plan, and it isn't something we did. We don't go out of our way to be agitators and be culprits of why it happened. That's not why it happens. Any Medina, any state that has its Jewish population, that its Jewish population is a gift to that country. And let universities earn their Jews. Let countries earn their Jews. We, in Israel, with, thank God, 7 million Jews in it today, with one of the strongest standing armies in the world today, we, thank God, are not in the matzav, the situation that our people were in some 80 years ago. It's not pretty. It doesn't feel good. But the Jewish world is more of a factor. You pick up any paper, any news source, you would think there are 2 billion Jews on earth for all the ink and all the airtime we occupy. And with Hashem's help, and with the accretive energy of wonderful Jews like a Tuvia and a Menachem Schmidt, may Klal Yisrael be united. May we be stronger through our unity. And may Hashem bless us as we start our new Jewish New Year here in the month of Elul. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Great. So one of the things I'm curious about, Rabbi Schmidt, if you could maybe address, is what happened? What happened to the college campuses? What happened to the University of Pennsylvania in particular, where I went? What happened? What is happening? And what do you think may happen? And what can we do to help strengthen the Yiddishkeit and help these students?
What happened? I mean, everybody knows what happened. What's been happening? First of all, everybody should read an article by Gary Wexler. If you want to know what happened, it's called "How the Palestinians Took Over the World." It's a Jewish Journal article from I think September of late. It was from a while ago. How the Jews Took Over the World. Just Google Gary Wexler, Jewish Journal. And he gives you over there chapter and verse about how after the Second Intifada, this was a real tactic which these people used. It was very deliberate. It's it's in some ways, lahavdil, it's compared to birthright, even in terms of lining up support and organizing amongst the youth. But I don't I think it's a very complex situation, but there's a few things to mention in terms of campus. First of all, there are 100, the Jewish Funders Network determined that there are 170 organizations fighting anti-Semitism in America. 170. And one of the miracles, I think, of that, besides it might not be the best use of resources to have so many different ones, but the fact is that what we're really playing is a very sophisticated game of whack-a-mole. But the thing that's interesting and the thing which is actually good is that the thing that these 170 organizations are not doing is they're not fighting with each other. And it's really amongst these organizations I've found that people that are not normally working together, or or so much interested in working with each other, whether they work together or not, are complementing each other, or kind of getting out of each other's way. Because really, when it comes to, there are so many parts of this situation. At Penn, the main thing from my perspective, a lot of these things we're building for many years. I mean, Josh, I'm sure remembers Edward Said at Columbia University. That he wasn't that was the old story. There's when Ahmadinejad came to Columbia, there's been, when Louis Farrakhan came to Penn in the 80s, these things are not entirely new. There's a level of mobilization which we haven't seen, but the responses of when the Jewish community is unified and works together, or at least has regard for each other in terms of this, is very, very important. And the other thing which is really important, besides all of the different speakers about, informing kids about bringing survivors and speakers and soldiers and all these other things, which everybody's doing, is to strengthen the student population on campus themselves. Because in the end, what do these people want? The encampments are there to intimidate you. And when the Jewish students don't feel intimidated, I'll just tell you, this is kind of a ridiculous statement, but I was sitting with a bunch of kids a few weeks ago. No, at the end of last semester was. We're talking about the encampment, and I was very happy to hear that they told me that these kids smell. Why do I care if why was I happy to hear that? I was happy to hear they smell. As a matter of fact, there's a very large, very diverse group there, and we're familiar with them, and been involved. As many of us have been involved in engaging with some, etc. But the main thing is to look at the encampment as something which is not, which doesn't intimidate, is very important. There have been a bunch of activists. Kids from Penn have testified in Congress. Kids from Harvard. I mean, it's great, but in the end, besides legislation and other things that can prevent people from doing things outwardly, the Jewish community has to be strong inwardly, and all the different ways that we have to do that together are of tantamount importance.
Josh, any comments from your perspective growing up and watching? You went to college, you saw what went on. Did you experience anti-Semitism growing up? Did you have any of this going on in your life?
I was very sheltered. I was very fortunate. I never really felt any Jew uncomfortableness. By the way, raising my own children, I would hear certain people with a different attitude of, try to have as broad upbringing as possible. I was all for being sheltered as long as can be, and having one's roots be as strong as they can be, recognizing that you have your whole life to grow up and see unfortunate things. I never really encountered anti-Semitism. To this day, I really haven't, because I've been off of a campus for 40 years now. I'm attracted to people who have God in their life, whether that be in the Jewish community or in the Christian community. And in general, when one sees God, one it's been my experience that one is more sensitive to people of faith, and that is a unifier. Something that my wife legitimately has challenged me on. I was sort of ambivalent about my kids' academic post high school education. I was hoping that they would be centered in ultimately Yeshiva University, which is where two of my three children have gone. One is at Baruch, which is here in the New York area, but where less of a campus setting, more of a community setting. And I am pleased as I walk around and see buildings named repeatedly, hospitals named repeatedly, museums named repeatedly by generous, productive, competent, gifted Jews. Let a community know that they have a gift in their Jewish community, and let these universities, let these hospitals, let these cultural institutions earn the generosity of their Jewish donors, and let those Jewish donors have enough self-respect to participate and be involved where they are respected, where they are appreciated, where they are acknowledged for being themselves and not taking a back seat and a passive a role. And one of the consequences of the unfortunate October 7th date is that more commonly you are seeing large Jewish leaders rise to the occasion. So Bezrat Hashem, may that continue.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because as I've been following this before October 7th, for many years, to me, the Jews have given a huge amount of money and tuition to these universities and colleges, and huge amounts of money has been donated to these various units. And for the way they've handled the Jews in the past year and even before, it seems to me it's a big misallocation, misappropriation of the funds that have been given to allow this to occur. It's a misappropriation of Jewish funds. It's a misappropriation of state and federal funds. And I think these universities got a much bigger problem coming behind than just the students suing them right now. There's a misappropriation of the funds, and they take funds from all these countries who we're at war with. So they're taking in funds from countries they shouldn't be taking money from. And there's a question how they disclose it and how they get taxed by it. So I think there's big issues that they're not being addressed, and we haven't seen it yet, that very important that the students go and they go ahead and they sue for their rights. But there's a history of decades of money that's been funneled into these places, and in my opinion, it's been misappropriated. Something's got to be done with that. And also all the foreign funds coming into them from Saudi Arabia, Iran.
Many of those 170 other organizations are involved with doing exactly what you're talking about. So
yes.
I want to give a call out to Elise Stefanik and others in Congress who recently have taken leadership roles in this area and are putting some teeth. Ultimately, the ultimate teeth will be the federal funding for these universities. Columbia University enjoyed $1 billion of federal funding, as she said last week at the Republican Jewish Coalition. $1 billion. If their tax ID number were questioned, if federal regulation did not allow that, Title VI, etc., others for every woke speech on earth except against the Jew, that would bring great teeth and hopeful solution in that direction.
By the way, just you asked about Penn. Just it wouldn't be fair to not. This week they implemented at Penn a new set of guidelines to stop anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim speech and expression. We'll see how it goes. It's there's a lot of regulation, a lot. We'll see how it goes. It's taken a lot of time, and I have no comment. I just want to say that there's some effort being made. So I want to recognize that, and and we'll see where it ends up. That's all.
They came out with the whole study last week with Colombia, of all the things that were going on, and it's outrageous.
Well, I mean, yeah, that Colombia is a look. This is a longer story, and this is a discussion of Jewish unity. So the history of Colombia is an interesting history, anyway. But I think let's stick with the other stuff.
I'm just going to address why we're doing this podcast. So, again, as I had mentioned, on September 29th will be our Light to Unite Unification American Jewry. We're doing a series of podcasts creating momentum leading up to that. We'll have one more next week, Bezrat Hashem, B'lai Nader, and then the actual lighting. As we continue, the program continues to expand. So on Friday night, the 27th, is the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, and we're actually requesting all women to light Shabbos candles. So people who are observant, they light. It's really the non-observant. And at this point, about 15 to 20% of the Jews in America are observant. So I would assume or think that many of those people are lighting Shabbos candles. It's really for the other 75 to 80% to light Shabbos candles for the first time, maybe. I never even heard of Shabbos. I never even had my first Shabbos until I was over 50. So part of our outreach is to make as much noise to get as many people to hear what is going on and go ahead and listen to this. So when we heard about more than a week ago, that 6 Jews were killed in Israel, my guess of the 5 to 6 million Jews in America, off of Wikipedia's stats, at least half of those, 50%, they knew that the Jews had been killed. So probably much more than that. So they're listening, our objective. And when they hear that, that creates darkness. And the darkness creates depression, anxiety, anger, all negative emotions. And what the Rabbi had done for many years, he wanted to bring lightness. I know Shabbos candle lighting was a big thing for the Rebbe.
It still is a very big thing. They're distributing hundreds of thousands of Shabbos candles, and
Yep.
many women. And just one thing is that however you define observance, mitzvahs, anybody can do a mitzvah, and lighting a Shabbos candle and saying a bracha is an easy one. And it's one which, I've also been involved right after October 7th in campaigns to do this. And, people are very, very responsive. It's a beautiful thing. And it's good the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. It's also good the Shabbos after Rosh Hashanah. And it's good the whole year long. And a lot of people, and one mitzvah brings another mitzvah. So you can start with that. So little light dispels darkness. So that's, like you said, it's very important.
So we want to really get that, amen. We want to get that message out over the next 2 weeks. So any people that have contacts that can introduce us to the networks, to social media, because this is it's a virtual event. And our objective is to have at least 1 million Jews in North America light this day on Sunday, starting with Shabbos. We get as many people that don't light to get to light on Shabbos. And then the program will start with first a college and university program. We'll have 5 speakers. It'll be an hour program. There'll be a second program with 5 ladies, prominent Jewish ladies, talking about the history of the Jewish women and the importance of the Jewish women and how they've showed up in so many instances, starting with Sarah and our founding mothers, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, going on with Miriam, Esther. And we have many great ones out there now. We need them to rise to the occasion and push the men to do what we have to do to fight all this anti-Semitism. So there'll be a college program addressing this, some very well-known people, ladies program, and then the actual lighting at 8 o'clock at night. And we're encouraging all communities to do this. We're reaching out to many communities in the United States to join us on this process. And that's the beginning. And then there is a follow-up afterwards. The Shabbos Project will be doing their global Shabbos on the 15th of November. We want all Jews to join in that also. And in just looking at the United States, we have many different observant groups of people, but from my side, it looks fragmented. And part of what we're doing is joining different groups, Hasidish, Litvish, Sephardic, to come together right now to do this. And for them to be able to reach out and for us to reach out to the non-observant Jews to have a platform to feel comfortable to start to do things so that we can really come together, unify, and better fight anti-Semitism and the challenges that we have here in the United States. So we're going to wrap up in a couple minutes. So both of you, I'd like to have another comment regarding what we're doing and the impact that we can do and your thoughts about this. Josh, you can go first.
Menachem personifies this, as do you, Tuvia, in that Judaism is not about anti-Semitism. It's about positive. It's about wonderful living. It is about community. It is about family. It is about mitzvot. And, when over the years, when asked about anti-Semitism, Holocaust museums, etc., I say, I do not define my Judaism through that lens. I'm blessed to have a positive family, friend, community-centered Yahadut, which is filled with so many good things. And, that is how I think, again, seeing young people wanting to wear Magen David, Achai, put on tefillin, people who are more outspoken, people, you, Tuvia, who volunteer, you literally never had Shabbat until you were 50 years old. I mean, it's staggering. It's staggering. That is our future. That is our hope. And this other stuff is mood music, and possibly it's Hashem working through the world, because it's not all natural. All this stuff going on, we're in pre-messianic wild times, but the good part of it is forcing us, one way or the other, together, putting us together, putting our collective energies together, our achdut, our mishpacha together. So I again applaud what you are doing as one of the other hooks in that effort on the 29th of September. Kol hakavod, kol hakavod. Thank you for this opportunity for participation.
Thank you.
And also Yasher Koach to you and to all those that are involved. And we should all try as hard as we can to bring the Jewish people together. Just wanted to mention one other thing, which is you mentioned before the Rebbe. So the Rebbe in a certain talk. One of the points is, what we are remembering happened on Simchas Torah, and hopefully on Simchas Torah, people will also memorialize, and I'm sure they will, all of the Kedoshim, those people that died, Al Kiddush Hashem, they died because they were Jewish and for no other reason. Whatever they were before, this is the reason why they died. But it's interesting, if you look at Simchas Torah, speaking about unity. So what do we do on Simchas Torah? We usually, Torah is something which we learn. And when you learn, there's a difference between somebody who knows a lot and somebody who doesn't know so much, somebody who started learning and somebody who never really learned. There's somebody who can read Hebrew and somebody who can't read Hebrew. But when you get an elite, but on Simchas Torah, we take the Torah as it's wrapped up in a mantle and we dance with it. And there's no difference between a person who just finished Shas for the 5th time and somebody who can't read Hebrew. Because when it comes to moving your feet with the Torah, it's all the same. The message of Simchas Torah is that message. The message of Simchas Torah is the unity of the Jewish people and how we're the feet of the Torah and the importance of that unity. And hopefully we'll go from the day of this lighting to memorialize them with joy on Simchas Torah. Hopefully by that time, even way before all of this, the hostages will be free and we'll be victorious. And we should hear very, very unbelievably good news from Israel right away. But those are just some other things to think about.
Thank you. Beautiful. So Rabbi, since I became observant, I didn't really hear of the Rebbe before. I've been searching for who are our Jewish leaders, and I haven't seen one since. Because the Rebbe is still here in many ways, and I learned Tanya every week for the last 8 years with Dr. Sheckman, who's from our local Chabad with Rabbi Holtzberg here. But I keep searching, where are the Jewish leaders? Where are they? And we need someone like the Rebbe to step up, because I keep looking, and we have to go back to the leaders. I'd love to know where the current leaders are. Same thing in America for our leadership, but it's really about the Jewish people. Yeah, but it's really important to find them, and for me, the Chabad system and to learn has been very, very powerful, very, very grounding, and really appreciate the opportunity that you and I were able to do something together with our dear friend Josh Landis. This is a real Philadelphia podcast, and Philadelphia is a very important place because that's where the whole reform movement started in the United States back around the Civil War, back in the 1860s. And that's how I grew up, as a reform, no affiliation. Josh, you grew up as conservative, and beautiful temple your father had been the Rebbe for. And I looked at his bio again, that he was the highest ranking chaplain in the U.S. Navy. So the upbringing exposure you had to move forward, but you went from being conservative to observant. So that's interesting. Had that transpire, that you went to the one direction instead of the other direction?
Well, I always loved the Jewish people, and I must say, in the conservative movement of the 1970s was, so many American Jews were part of that movement. Much of it was centered in Philadelphia. It was quite vibrant. It was, I grew up in a Shomer Shabbos home, even though we were conservative, if you will. But Hashem gave me the gift of wanting to be a little more observant. And fortunately, I had, in the most important decision in life that one makes, who one's partner is, I was blessed to marry Bryna from Montreal, who was raised also as a rabbi's daughter, a little more observant than I. And I was attracted to that. And together we've been zoche. We've been blessed to raise a family who we hope walks in that direction as well. And 2 months ago, we were blessed with our first child to get married, and her selection of spouse suggests that she is doing just that. So it is all the big decisions. I very much feel the Kadosh Baruch Hu, God's presence and involvement, and this mood music around us. And granted, chas v'shalom, if you are a hostage, if you are killed, it very much affects you. And in the Jewish family, we all know we're all 1 degree separated from all these situations. And I have to pinch myself and chas v'shalom never minimize somebody else's pain, which I have not firsthand felt, but 1 degree separated through them, have to empathize with. But please God, it's in every generation. It's in our liturgy and it's fact. In every generation we are challenged. In every generation the Jews land on their feet. And in every millennium, those who challenged us and tried to destroy us are not there anymore. They're not, no more Babylonians, no more Romans. Italy's a lovely country. It's had Jews for 2,500 years who are doing just fine. Hashem has a sense of humor. The president of Mexico is a Jewish woman, for better or for worse, wild stuff. The president of Ukraine, the most blood-soaked nation on earth for Jews, has a Jew running the country. I mean, is this wild stuff? If one is, where is God wherever you let him in? If you look at some of these wild things going on, God is in our lives. God is in our lives, and he has a bigger plan, and he has pledged that the Jewish people will always be here. Unfortunately, there'll be individual korbanot who won't be here, but our neshama will be here because we believe and we know there's another world, and it's all in God's hands, and there is a plan.
I wanted to just mention one other thing, if you don't mind. Just especially during this time, because it's a very, very opportune time. the sages tell us actually how it works is that this is a time of ani l'doidi v'doidi li. I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. Basically, that during this time, the 13 attributes of mercy are revealed. So one of the 13 attributes of mercy revealed on Yom Kippur's. But the question is, if the 13 attributes of mercy are revealed during Elul, because Ani l'doidi v'doidi li, and it's a whole thing about the power of this time, why isn't it a Yom Tov? Or isn't, and we all know, every tradition teaches us that it's a time of cheshbon and nefesh, to make a special accounting and to come close and to work a little harder. But the fact is that in this month, the king is in the field, as opposed to that in Tishrei, when you have to go to the palace and there's so many details and laws and rituals. During this time, all the ticket of admission to be able to connect is just to want. So each one of us, by lighting that candle, by lighting the Shabbos candle, the memorial candle, adding a little bit in Torah, etc., and connecting with each other and encouraging each other, just remember that God is giving us an extra boost during this month. So it's very appropriate that this is happening now to get this little extra boost when the king is in the field.
Agreed. So,
and Ksivach Simatayva, everybody. A happy and a healthy new year.
So that's really why we picked the 29th. We didn't pick the following week when it actually happened. Lots of people are doing things. We picked the 29th because it's coming into the new year and we're in the month of Elul, and to get that Shabbos to be part of it. So Rabbi, Chabad's had a big impact on me. I want to have an even bigger impact on me. I think Philadelphia is a market where we're focusing a lot in the next 2 weeks. I want every Jew in Philadelphia to know this is going on. Really want every Jew in America to know, but really the Philadelphia, where we're from, and that whole Boston to Washington corridor. This is where the majority of the Jews are. It's where the universities are. It's where the anti-Semitism is the worst. And this is the message we want to get out there. And we appreciate your help and support. And hope we can do more with you.
And again, to everybody watching.
Everybody, thank you so much. And we're off to the races. And I want to also thank the Chazaq organization, because they've been an amazing partner. We have other partners coming on now, the Shabbos Project, Project Inspire, the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce, and we're looking for more and more collaborators to get it out, and from different organizations, Sephardic, Ashkenazi. We need to blend, and we have to show that one face together, one Jewish face together here in America, and unite that with Israel. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and be well. Have a good evening.